We got some important news for us, Tesla stock investors. Tesla will reportedly expand battery production in Nevada, opening a small facility using idle equipment from China CATL. Tesla will have full control of the facility and cover 100% of the costs, and CATL personnel will be uninvolved other than helping to set up the equipment. The plant, which will make cells for Tesla's large battery Megapack product, is part of a broader effort to onshore the supply chain for lithium iron phosphate cells in America, which means Tesla is going to get some of these battery credits directly from the government. So I see it as good news. Tesla making more batteries? Yeah, definitely good news. However, Electric says, I would take the report with a grain of salt. I'm not saying it's wrong, but the sources are not clear. Bloomberg mentions people on some statements and a person on another. There's a good chance though that the report is indeed true, and if Tesla cannot somehow use these cells for Megapacks, it could use maybe some of these new cells for vehicles to get the $7,500 credit that the Model 3 right now is not getting. And James says, this begs the question, since Lathrop is still operating at only 50% capacity, the factory that makes Megapacks in the US, is Tesla planning another mega factory, or is Tesla somehow battery constrained for Lathrop? And is that why the ramp has been slow? I think a Tesla/CATL US factory would be more for the vehicle business, to be honest, to qualify for the $7,500 instant rebate, which I think makes more sense than to use these cells for Megapacks. Because if you make these batteries in the US, you still get the battery credits, and then on top of that, if you put these cells in vehicles, you get $7,500 from the government as well, making your vehicles cheaper. Oof, a group of 25 California counties have sued Tesla, claiming they mishandle hazardous waste at its facilities across the state. The lawsuit seeks civil penalties and an injunction that would require Tesla to properly handle its waste in the future. Should we be worried? Is Tesla going to be fined with a big fine? Well, California's hazardous waste management law carries potential civil penalties as high as $70,000 per violation per day. So I don't think it would be a high amount, nothing really to worry for us Tesla stock investors. I'm going to wait for Tesla's arguments, and then I'll report as news come out about the story. This is not the first time that Tesla is dealing with something like this. The last time it happened, Tesla simply settled for a $31,000 fine. So this is probably a non-story really. Here's some good Tesla stock news. It was the fourth successive day of Ark purchasing Tesla shares, and Tesla stock is now back to the number 2 position in Cathie Wood's biggest fund. Tesla recently launched in Chile, and starting with today, you can now actually order a Model 3 or a Y. The configurator is now live. Should Tesla change its state of incorporation to Texas, home of its physical headquarters? This is a public poll, and 87% of the people voted yes. The public vote is unequivocally in favor of Texas, says Elon. Tesla will move immediately to hold a shareholder vote to transfer state of incorporation to Texas. To me, this is good news because that clearly shows that Elon does want another compensation package, and that package is almost certainly going to be proposed by the board. If it wasn't, then why would Elon bother with all of this? To me, this signals that Elon is strongly committed to Tesla and is intending to stay at Tesla for a long time. James says, this is big news. Tesla Model Y hardware 4.0 launched in China just now with unchanged prices. If you want, you can still get a vehicle with the old hardware and at a lower price, of course. Tesla China is offering a $1,120 cash discount on inventory Model Ys for a limited time, although I'm not really sure how limited this is going to be in time. They are also offering 2.5% time-limited low interest rates. Order any model of Model 3, Y, S, or X before the end of March and deliver it, and the annual rate can be as low as 2.5%. Some are speculating that this is to clear out the Model Y inventory before the new refresh Model Y comes out, but that vehicle I don't think is coming out very soon, so I don't think this is why the discount is happening. But also let's remember that discounts happen every single quarter, especially closer to the end of the quarter. By discounts, I mean either discounts or some sort of incentives. Refresh Model 3 deliveries begin in the US, so that's good. A few countries are reporting their delivery numbers in Europe. Spain is looking pretty good compared to previous first months of the quarter, and so does Norway. Norway looks pretty good as well. Ark Invest just released its 2024 Big Ideas deck. We're living in a new age of AI, and I expect last year's breakthroughs to accelerate progress in autonomous driving, says Tasha from Ark Invest. And large language models are becoming better and better and better. You can see human level performance in this dotted line, and here's a large language model, for example, beating people in some of these tasks. You can see what the tasks are here. Tasha says that autonomous cars already appear to be safer than human-driven vehicles, and it shows that Teslas, when on FSD, don't really get into accidents nowhere near as often as regular cars driven by regular people. However, from my personal experience, I have to tell all of you guys that when I see something really challenging, if I'm driving on FSD, I will generally just turn it off. Unless I am driving by myself, then sometimes if I see it's difficult but not really dangerous, if something bad happens, then I will let it go until failure, until it disengages, which happens most of the time. For example, let's say there's construction and there are cars on every single lane, and there's, let's say, 3 lanes, and some people are going really fast and I need to merge. I'm gonna take over. But keep in mind, I'm talking about FSD 11. FSD 12 maybe is going to be quite a bit different, because my main problem with FSD 11 is when it disengages, it does it in an abrupt way. If FSD 12 can disengage in a nice, sort of relaxed way, maybe with a very gentle warning telling you, oh, I'm about to disengage in like 2 seconds, so take over now. That would be great. And Tasha says that the first robotaxi players to get to scale should enjoy the lion's share of the economics, and of course Tesla will be at the top. And of course these numbers sound crazy, but I wouldn't just throw these out by default. I think you need to think it through. Ultimately, robotaxis could generate $28 trillion in enterprise value in 2030. Mind-boggling numbers. And this is one of my favorite slides from the whole deck. In the past 5 years, charging rates for 200 miles of range have improved nearly threefold, from 40 minutes to 12, and could drop another threefold to 4 minutes over the next 5 years. If you can charge to 200 miles in 4 minutes, yeah, there's no excuse of, oh, I need a gas-powered vehicle because charging takes so long when I'm on a road trip. So this slide is extremely bullish to all of us Tesla stock investors. This one is too my favorite slide, with access to 50 times more driving data than Baidu and 280 times more than Waymo. Tesla has a massive data advantage. That's such an understatement, as it prepares to launch its robotaxi service, the largest AI project in the world. And of course, if EV adoption continues to gain traction, traditional automakers may be forced to restructure and consolidate. I think the more accurate phrase here would be not may, but will be forced. Here's an update on the interest rate situation and the markets. Well, they didn't really like hearing this. The Fed held interest rates steady at this current level, a little bit above 5%, a 22-year high for the 4th straight meeting, and signaled its openness to cutting them, though not necessarily right away. In the statement issued after their 2-day meeting, Fed officials dropped a previous assertion that a rate hike was possible and instead adopted a more balanced assessment of the future policy path. But in a sign that officials are not in a rush to reduce rates, the FOMC also said it does not expect it will be appropriate to reduce the target range until it has gained greater confidence that inflation is moving sustainably toward 2%. Gary expects that the rates will be cut no longer in March, but now in May or June. Following the FOMC decision, the implied odds of a March rate cut fell to 45% from 60% after the week ADP. Now here's something to worry a little bit about. Fed just removed comment that the US banking system is sound and resilient. which, yeah, did you know that this bank is collapsing? At least the stock certainly is. It dropped a lot in just one day. 32%. Ouch. It was down as much as 42%, almost 43%. I'll keep an eye on this situation and report if the problem seems to be more widespread. Gary says that everyone needs to relax about the judge's decision to take away Elon's compensation. There are many ways for the Tesla board to fix this, starting with reapproving Elon's 2008 compensation plan, adding clear disclosures about Elon's control exercise in this situation, and then asking shareholders to again approve it, which they would overwhelmingly, he thinks. Going forward, Elon cannot be involved in formulating his own compensation plan. This can all be resolved in the coming proxy statement. Separately, Tesla can appeal this decision to the DE Supreme Court, where the judge clearly ignored precedent by ignoring shareholders' approval. That said, the DE Supreme Court marches to its own beat. I think we cannot just take it for granted that shareholders right now would just automatically by default approve 2018 compensation for Elon again, because the stock already went up, the work has been done, and the pay now is in question. I would vote yes. And the reason for that is because when Elon gets the next compensation plan, I don't want him to doubt that Tesla shareholders do not support Elon, because if he doubts that support, then he might think, okay, even if I get everything signed, even if I get everything disclosed, even if everything is done properly, supposedly, and I get that compensation, and then I achieve all of these goals set out in the compensation plan, they can just still take away all of this compensation away from me. So why would I even bother doing all of this work if it's just going to be taken away from me again? But if he knows that the shareholders stand behind Elon, then I think Elon would be a lot more confident. I have been digging into this whole situation, and it appears that the judge is very likely to be politically motivated. I'm still trying to add all of these pieces together, and I don't have a final opinion on this yet, but here's what I found. Before becoming the head of the Delaware Chancery Court, the judge that ruled against Elon, McCormick, worked at a Delaware law firm called Young Conaway. This firm and its employees have been major donors to President Joe Biden for decades. In 2016, Hunter Biden hosted a gubernatorial campaign event for Congressman John Carney, with then Vice President Joe Biden as the guest speaker. But this is not really all that alarming to me. I mean, it raises some red flags, but okay. What you're going to see later is going to raise some serious red flags. This event took place at the law offices of Young Conaway in Wilmington, Delaware. Carney, a close friend of Joe Biden for the last 4 decades, later became governor and nominated McCormick, a partner at Young Conaway, to her position on the Delaware Chancery Court. In a March 2018 email, and this is where it gets a bit, Hunter Biden claimed to personally know every judge on the Delaware Chancery Court while threatening legal action against his Chinese business partners. I will bring the suit in the Chancery Court in Delaware, which, as you know, is my home state, and I am privileged to have worked with and know every judge on the Chancery Court. Here's that email saying that exact same thing. It also adds, if you refuse to sign the wire, Kevin, I will seek to have you removed from the board for unjust obstruction of equity holder rights. I am the only equity holder on the board. I will bring suit in the Chancery Court in Delaware. Oh, but it gets worse. If you follow the news, you will recall that after Elon Musk purchased Twitter with the stated goal of restoring free speech, President Biden called for a federal investigation into Musk on the podium at the White House. Following this, the Biden Department of Justice, Securities and Exchange Commission, and Federal Trade Commission initiated legal actions and investigations against Tesla, SpaceX, and X, and we have seen so many of these. This recent decision by the judge, who worked with Biden's top donors and was nominated by Biden's close friend to override Tesla's board and the majority of its shareholders, is another clear example of the Biden administration and its allies weaponizing the American legal system against their political opponents.
Do you think Elon Musk is a threat to U.S. national security, and should the U.S., and with the tools you have, investigate his joint acquisition of Twitter with foreign governments, which include the Saudis?
I think that Elon Musk's cooperation and/or technical relationships with other countries is worthy of being looked at. Whether or not he is doing anything inappropriate, I'm not suggesting that. I'm suggesting that it's worth being looked at.
So to me, it seems that there was some political motivation by the judge as well. I'm not saying it was just because of that. I'm not saying it was 100% politically motivated. But to say that for sure, 100%, it had nothing to do with politics at all, 100%, I think is incredibly naive. If this actually happens, I will be so mad, because did you know that in securities class actions, for example, it was found that if settlements exceed over $1 billion, the median fee award to the lawyers would equal about 15%. In this case, supposedly, the lawyers saved Tesla $55 billion. So how much of that would go to the lawyers? If this law firm even gets awarded $1 billion, I will be livid at that law firm. And Elon agrees that the real plaintiff is the class action law firm, not the guy with 9 Tesla shares, who was responsible for starting this whole lawsuit that took away Elon's compensation. Dave says the post-trial opinion by the judge starts out this intentional yet peculiar sentence: was the richest person in the world overpaid? Why would Elon Musk being the richest person in the world even matter in this case? Or does Elon Musk being the richest person in the world means that he's held at a higher standard and shouldn't get as much performance-based incentives or compensation as a CEO who is poor? And what's even more confusing about this whole thing, which makes it so clear that there was such huge bias against Elon Musk, at the time when the performance compensation plan was being put in place, Elon Musk was nowhere near being the richest person in the whole world. Steven believes that long ago, this judge got a memo: Elon bad. Dylan seems to be going through the 200-page court verdict against Elon, and he has some thoughts to share. If you actually read the entire court case, you come across some points that encapsulate who Elon really is. After receiving a proposal from Tesla's general counsel and in-house attorney for the compensation plan, Elon responded by saying, "That is more than intended. Let's go with 10% of the current FDS fully diluted shares, so 20.915 million. This was over 8 million shares less than a prior proposal." When asked about this, Elon said, I guess, negotiating against myself. Elon sent another email to Tesla's general counsel: given that this will all go to causes that at least aspirationally maximize the probability of a good future for humanity, plus all Tesla shareholders will be super happy, I think this will be perceived well. And he was right about it. It should come across as an ultra bullish view of the future, given that this compensation package is worth nothing if all I do is almost double Tesla's market cap. The creation of this compensation plan was taking place during the Model 3 ramp, which was called basically a production hell. I was not an investor back then, but I heard about it in the news a lot. In response to this, Elon sent Todd Maron, Tesla's GC, an email asking him to put the discussion of his compensation on hold for a few weeks, stating that he just wanted to make sure Tesla interests come first. This will all get sorted out one way or another, with the majority of shareholders supporting Elon getting paid. While I strongly disagree with the verdict, I also didn't read the document as a veiled attack on capitalism that was politically motivated to harm Tesla. It's easy to score social media clout by bashing the ruling, but I would venture to guess less than 1% of people yelling about the outcome actually read the full court case to understand the merits and legal basis of the arguments. Now, Warren used to be a lawyer, and he read the whole court case, and it was not an attack on capitalism, he says, but the judge was biased. Read to me like she decided to rule against Tesla and then BS'd the facts to get there. Fighting Denholm, the chair of Tesla, not independent, is just one example of obvious bias. Dylan hears Warren and agrees with him, actually. The only pushback on the Denholm point One could even argue that she made life-changing money from her role at Tesla, which she admitted, which means she did her job incredibly well. That's the only reason why she made a lot of money. If she did her job poorly, she would have made no money. So it's just so ridiculous to even bring up that point. And I fully agree with Warren on this one. The judge nitpicked a few points where Tesla could have said more in the proxy, but if Tesla's lawyers have to anticipate every nitpick, then the proxy is 1,000 pages long. And do you guys read any of these? If it was 1,000 pages long, certainly even less people would read these, and already no one reads these. Look at the useless list of risk factors every company's 10K has that none of us read. But sure, Tesla could have been more forthcoming in the proxy statement. And even then, I think the shareholders would have still voted the same way. I saw quite a few people attacking Elon, that he's complaining about this lawsuit, but Elon has been complaining about class action lawsuits for a while. So if you think the class action lawsuit problem is just about this case, you're missing it. I agree with Warren. That's it for this video today. Thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe, and I will see you in tomorrow's episode.